Really, the point of this meeting is really an introduction to kind of our plan to get a couple of the key players involved, so then you can all spread the word, invite your friends if you think it's relevant, and kind of making this information available for people who want to join, let them know what we're working on here in Cameroon, and that we're pushing through Wada, and hoping that sort of slowly but surely this will become a bigger group. But we wanted to just have kind of an initial one where we introduce it, make some plans, talk to other people about it. So the players here, I'll just do like a quick introduction. I know all of you know Monfo, but we also have Didier here from the Cameroon team. So we have another, what do you call him, developer, Arcel, who I think we're expecting, but I'm not sure about his internet. He might not be able to join this time. But those are, so far, the three of them are our main trainers. And we'll talk about sort of what we're hoping to do. We're hoping to kind of invite more people to join. So Monfo, I'll pass to you to do a little presentation.
Thank you, Meg. So here, just give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys all see my screen? Okay. You know, we are Wada, of course. I think most of us here know what Wada is and what Wada is trying to accomplish. And here in Cameroon at the local level, we are DITC, the Wada Cameroon Hub. And we, of course, specialize in IT and agriculture, just really trying to find the gap here. What this meetup is about is like a parallel initiative that we would like to launch with our education program initiative. Here it's really about making sure that Wada is providing education, just leveraging the infrastructure that has been built so far. And we got funding in Grow Africa, Grow Cardano, Plan Within Africa. That was the name for our proposal. And that helped us like set up the ground for our education initiative. What is it really about? So we want, through this meetup that we are launching, which is just one portion of the whole program. As I said, we have two pieces now, like the meetup that we are launching today. And then on the other side, we have the training that we have been like going through for the last 3.5 months. So what is it really about? We want to create a space for developers and entrepreneurs to really connect and engage in a meaningful way. So we want to make sure that we are building a community through this meetup that we are launching today, and also within the meetup addressing the concerns of both developers and entrepreneurs at a mentoring level as a starting point. As we go into the meetup and into our training program, we will be coming up with a curriculum to address developers' concerns at a more deeper level, as well as figure out like a way to create circles around like specific areas or domains to address entrepreneurs' concerns or problems. The other, what is this about can also be answer through this second point, which is introduction to the functional programming paradigm. We want to make sure that we touch on the history of functional programming paradigm. What was it forgotten and why it's coming up now? And we see it in many object-oriented languages. Java, trying to integrate notions of functional programming. We want to make sure that we bring up similarities between the different programming paradigms, and also advantages and disadvantages of the functional programming paradigm. It's also about information and mentoring around functional programming languages. I will be talking a lot about Haskell and Plutus. This is more geared toward our developers. And we'll also be talking about distributed ledger technologies in general. We'll touch on the architecture, and the smart contract for developers. And we'll also talk about DLT opportunities, applications, and general topics such as self-sovereign identity, ID, etc. for entrepreneurs and developers as well. So it will also be about providing information and mentoring around software design and implementation. This is a huge missing piece when it comes down to a smart contract, in the sense that most people are looking at smart contract as if they were we have software principles, and those apply to smart contracts as well. So it's not like something apart. It fits very well within, that box. So why are we doing it? So 3 points here. The first goal that we want to meet through this program, motivation, you can see it that way, is really to fulfill Wada long-term sustainability and support goals. We all know that Wada has been providing support for a while to proposers, those who submit proposals. That's at the submission level, but we are really interested to be there when those proposals get funded. So we want to, just provide the same support when it comes down to designing and adjusting and then implementing those projects. Also, we really want to fulfill our education promises. WADA is centered around 3 pillars, which are infrastructure, education, and dApps creation. So we want to, start with working on our education promise that will lead into that creations when we get further down the road. We want to make sure that WADA has its developers, within the house, and also, lastly, we want to focus on project implementation once we have the curriculum and the dev team ready for that. So the reason why, or motivation why we are launching this initiative is really to engage devs and entrepreneurs in a more efficient way. In our own experience as developers, what we have noticed is it's like a wedding, between developers and entrepreneurs has gone wrong at so many levels. Enterprises need developers, but the distance between those who actually write the software and those who think about those problems that developers are trying to solve in the first place, there's a big gap, and we are trying to address that by creating this initiative. And the Meetup is the tool that we'll be using to kind of reduce that complexity of those misunderstandings, I will call that, that arises when developers are far away from entrepreneurs. So we want to be there, listening to them, and really getting them engaged with devs in a very efficient way. So within this point, we're thinking about like purpose-driven circles. When we get further into our journey, centered around like specific problems, specific issues, could be DIDs, traceability solutions, or but there will be task focus. We want to engage them by giving them the space again to brainstorm issues and solutions that fit their local mental model, and also by suggesting solutions when it comes down to design and implementation. So the other reason why we really want to launch this program is just to make sure that we are giving the tools to better options to developers, in the sense that there should be a way, right, for people to reason with their codes. And I think it becomes really messy with other programming languages paradigms when you have 1,000 or 10,000 of line of codes and you don't know where to start. So that's why we want to focus on the core principle of functional programming paradigm, and making sure that developers really get Haskell, which is really behind Plutus and Cardano, and also overall making functional programming more accessible through Haskell and Plutus. So this is more of a background roadmap for trainers that I thought it would be great to share, just to give you a big picture, but also make sure that we are opening up to people who want to join us as trainers. We are still at the beginning, and there's just the three of us, Didier, Haskell, and including myself, but we are really open to grow this team, the trainers team, in such a way that we can, meet our goals later on. So phase one started in September 15, and it lasted for 3 months. And what we did was really to go through Haskell at the beginner level and at the intermediate level. That was completed. We used 2 supports here, three core supports, 2 books. One called Learning Haskell from First Principles, and the other one is called Learn Haskell for a Great Good. And we then use a platform called typeclasses.org. So I can share that later if you are interested. I can share more details on that. Then one of our goals for this first phase was to launch this meeting. It's happening now. We are really happy about it. No, there's just a few of us, but we expect to have to build up our community as we go on. The last point here was we were hoping to introduce Elm in this phase, which we couldn't get to, but that will be done in the next phase, which started on December 15 and will run through March 14. And in here, we want to focus on Plutus, really getting the theory, and that portion is in progress, but also in parallel, we will be touching on advanced subject in Haskell that are used in Plutus, specifically type level programming. And lastly, we will introduce Elm. Elm is a front-end functional programming language here. The third phase which will run from March 15 to June 14, will really be about like practical Plutus. And in this phase, there will be a chance for us to either pick up some of our projects in Fund 7 that we hope will be funded, and start like really practicing Plutus, writing smart contracts. And then overall, we'll be talking smart contracts with within our meetup group with our devs and entrepreneurs and visionaries, and DLT in general as well. We'll also start touching on software design and implementation at a high level. So next, phase 4, which will run from June 15 to September 14, will really be about like, using all those conversations within the meetup, and leveraging all that community of devs and entrepreneurs, and creating a curriculum and content that goes with it, and also making sure that we onboard like the devs that would have shown commitment and determination, and also setting up a teaching platform. So that will be in phase 4. And lastly, in phase 5, which will run from September 15 to December 15, it will be about launching our training program, first within the Wada network of hubs. And we hope by then to have many trainers that will plant the seeds in each local hub. And then, at the meetup level, we will be, turning our attention toward like really purpose-driven circles that will focus on specific problems in specific areas. And why not a proposal think tank, where we can really walk through our proposal and submit them through Project Catalyst. And then, since we will be teaching that program through the network of hubs, Wada network of hubs, and our core approach, which is project-based learning, we will be implementing projects already during this phase, either funded project or in-house projects. So that's what we are planning for that phase. So how? I think I've already touched on how, but let's go through it very quickly. So monthly meetups center around our subjects of interest. So these meetups, and we will all together pick our subjects that we will discuss. We'll make a lot of suggestions on resources, on ideas that we could discuss. We'll get together, talk about them. Some of them will be probably geared toward entrepreneurs. Others will be geared toward developers. We'll see how things goes. We are planning on maybe splitting for some meetup and creating 2 groups with devs and entrepreneurs, but we still want to have like that connection from time to time where we have like things that cross if that makes sense. We want to be running quarterly hackathon sessions involving devs, entrepreneurs, and clubs. And the idea here is to get our devs involved and keep the community alive, but not only devs, but entrepreneurs as well would be involved. And clubs, the idea of clubs here is really at a local level. We want to be going to those technical institute and high school and looking for kids that are, if I can say, well versed in math, if that makes sense, and really like gathering them and giving them the tools to really excel. And then through hackathon sessions, getting this collaboration. I don't like talking about competition, collaboration between those clubs and keeping, that going and alive. So the next tool that we intend to use is, a project-based learning approach. really, as we teach, we want to make sure that we are solving problems, like not just teaching for teaching and focusing on either proposals that were funded or proposals that, are, reflecting a real problem on the ground. So another tool, and I think I mentioned this one, is purpose-driven circles that we're going to be creating within our meetup community to focus on specific domains and areas. And lastly, the curriculum will really help us, spread the knowledge across the Wada network of hubs as a starting point. And lately, we intend to expand it, outside of the Wada network. So where will all of this happen? Of course, online through this meetup, and we also intend to, and we started this already. We created a server for devs specifically, and that's where we'll be doing some of our activities. We haven't finalized it yet, so it's going to be happening in the next weeks, next coming weeks. We'll be hosting some of our conversation on Zoom. We'll be present on social media and so on. So in person, as I mentioned before, we intend to really use the clubs in a sense that within our local hub next month, something like that, we are already planning on getting a few, internship here that will be coming maybe once a week, twice a week as a starting point, and they could be working here locally with us, and we intend to build up that community at a local level as well. And lastly, when we have all of this curriculum ready, we'll be spreading it through the Wada network of hubs and inviting other hubs to follow our model. So I said across Katiopa there. Katiopa is just an old name for Africa. So next, who? Well, it's the trainers, the three of us, Didier, Haskell, and myself. Just overall, the team, Wada team here in Cameroon, that includes Megan for the coordination, who has been doing a great job keeping us on check, just making sure we don't spread too much. The devs, of course, that will be joining us in our community, and the students that will be like gathering through the clubs and hackathon activities. Here, entrepreneurs as well, and I think I'm repeating myself here. High school student, I already mentioned them. There. So that's overall what we're gonna be doing. We'll also have like university students, technical institute student, and the Wada team overall. So thank you for taking your time to listening to me rambling, and if you have questions, feel free to go ahead, and after this we can jump onto little introductions. We're a little bit worried that to start with introductions because we might just get this first one with people that we already know, which turned out to be the case. So maybe we can just focus on questions here.
So I can jump in with some questions. So we're going to be doing the monthly meetups, right? So once a month, I'm assuming that we'll get together for a couple of hours the same way that we're getting together now. Mm-hmm. And the way that we engage outside of the monthly meetups is through Discord and some of the other channels that you'll be putting together.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then like, as far as like learning and curriculum goes, is it like, will we all kind of be paced together? Or if I want to, I can kind of go ahead, like, is it going to be materials that I can kind of consume, that I can, kind of consume at my own pace? Or is it best that we kind of stay on the same track?
Yeah, so we've been thinking about that, and what we came up with is, at this phase, while we are going through our training, what we can offer is mentoring. And, for those who are engaged enough and they want to follow us, they're welcome. We can design something very quick for, devs or entrepreneurs in such a way that we are offering what I call mentoring.
Okay.
I don't want to call it like really educating, but mentoring. So to be more specific, we could be recommending a pathway, suggesting resources that you can read on your own, and then, creating space in Discord where people who are at the same level, who are trying to reach the same goal, can get together and work. And when they encounter like issues, then they can reach out to us within the Discord server, and we can help with that. But that will be like at a very limited capacity, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So as a peer group, we'll like solve problems amongst ourselves, and if there's some things that we can't really get understanding on, then we can reach out to the trainers and say, hey, we have this problem, can you help us get through it?
Absolutely. And also the idea here is that we have the meetup space where we could be also talking about like those issues. So in addition to the Discord channel, we have the meetup space where we can talk about like those specific issues, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, just to clarify. So the meetup is really a precursor to, an actual program to be following. I think that, I hope that made sense, but you could be, like you were saying, Sydney, maybe you want to be, teaching yourself and learning on your own. They can be suggesting programs, and then you're coming together with your questions, but it's not yet, they're in the train the trainers phase, I guess, for this next couple of phases. So it's what support can they give right now before there's an official program to follow from Wada.
Okay.
I have a question. The first phase was for the trainers, the three in order to get the team ready for training. That was possibly easier to organize, but is there like another medium of teaching, like these websites that which are well designed for teaching, like for example, Sine was saying that, is it something I can go through it by myself? Is it something that could have like an online testing? There are some websites and some other tools that allow you to post a course. I don't know if it's paid, unpaid. I don't know if you have to subscribe. Some of them may allow you to post free courses. I don't know. Is there a way to get it more course-based, course-oriented? Because in the future, people may even consume it without even a teacher being there, right? So, or you may even sell it. Yeah.
Okay, so if I understand your question, Janti, you're asking if, within the tools that we use for our first phase in our training journey.
The next phase.
Oh, the next phase.
Yes, because the first one I can say it was appropriate for the format, but in the next phase, when you start getting more people, maybe you may need a more complete set of tools.
Absolutely. So let me just rerun through how we divided it up. So there are 5 phases, but really, let's say 3 main phases. So the first one is about like really getting, Haskell basics, which we did. The second one is about like really learning Plutus, which we are working on. So that's still at the trainer's level. And then the last one is really like coming up with a curriculum, leveraging the meetup that we are having now, as we'll be having conversations about like our journey and, what to consider or not to consider. And then leveraging all of those conversations and our training, and then building a curriculum that, will come with the content that will then figure out where to put it, and in such a way that people can follow that curriculum and then get evaluated. And if you read through some of our proposals, and also get some certifications at the end. So yes, and here we have some ideas. We've been really digging into the LinkedIn model, where they have these short, really focused, concept-focused videos. When you're training, it's really easy to get bored. Like, we've been going through the Plutus Pioneer content and video, and you sit down for 2 hours on one video and you get tired. So what we're thinking about is really short, condense, and simplify video or content, written and video content around specific subjects, and follow with evaluations. But that will come toward the end of this journey. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Et qu'en est-il du français pour l'expansion, là, si on doit le faire au Congo? Est-ce qu'il y a, je pense que certains parlent français, il y a des versions françaises?
Megan, you want to answer that while I fix something on my computer? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So Janti was asking about, how we address the Francophone community, especially given that we do have a pretty active group in DRC that are mostly Francophone. Our group of trainers is all bilingual. Well, I'll say multilingual, but French and English being two of the languages. So we are planning to produce all of our content in French as well. Another thing that we're trying to figure out through this meetup is how to also address that at the meetup. One thought is that we would have breakout rooms, for Francophones in one room, and we could sort of divide the trainers in that way. But also we want some of this stuff to talk about it as a group, to see what makes sense for the group. Today, for example, I don't think anyone has come that requires French translation. So we didn't deem it necessary. We had sort of a backup plan in case there were. But that's something that is very important to us. Yes, creating content parallel in French, and is something that we will absolutely be doing. I guess I just said the same thing twice. J'ai bien répondu à ta question, Gentil.
Oui, merci beaucoup. And some people in Goma are already meeting on a weekly basis. Now they are mostly learning on the setup of the Linux operating system, because some of them actually don't even know how to use Linux, how to do the files, how to find the scripts, the different files within the Linux operating system, and also how to set up a node, test node and mainnet nodes. So whenever you have regular schedule of training, they're already meeting on a weekly basis on Saturday, so they can change it, they can adapt it, but they will welcome another trainer. They're quite ready, I would say.
Great, that sounds great. I just want to add that Didier is actually really eager to also to provide that French portion, I could say. As a former math teacher.
Yeah, I was going to say that could even be something that could be integrated. If you're saying that Francophone group is already meeting weekly, it's maybe even something we could kind of be supporting through this, to have shorter weekly even sessions with them. So that's good feedback.
What is your hope for the students that pass through and complete the course? Like at that point, do you expect that they'll be able to, in a sense, develop their own apps?
So, I mean, the goal for, people that we train is they join the Wada family. They have some sort of like onboarding process or some sort of contract in such a way that, because really what we want to do here is make, one of the core goal is to make our organization self-sustainable in a way that those projects that we are getting funded on top, through Project Catalyst, we don't let them go outside. Within the network, we find, developers, those students that will have completed their program, get their certification or whatever we decide at the end, they are able to get busy, implementing those programs, with some sort of contract, chipping into like the overall network treasury. One model that we were even thinking about was like some sort of built-in, mechanism in dApps that we create in such a way that when there's a small benefit or profit, a percentage of it goes straight to the Wada network treasury. But those are the kind of things that I think we will be developing on as we go further.
I have a question. Actually, this question is for Jonty. Jonty, so what are your thoughts about like in a program like this, the consideration around like DIDs and credentials?
Sorry, offering credentials?
Yeah, DIDs and decentralized IDs and credentials.
Yeah, I think it's well applicable. I think the Wada always, I'm already proposing that Wada establish itself as an organization of a validator of deeds. If Wada doesn't do it, people are going to do it, ourselves included. So Wada should start doing it because it's an easy stage. Actually, yourself the training. It's not really complicated. It's a matter of us making sure that we trust in Wada. We just say that, and we make Wada a validator of our own issuers. So basically, the issuer will be the school, will be Wada training branch, and Wada the organization will be the validator. So yes, and it's something which can be well done. Yes, it's a natural element.
Okay. Yeah, because that seems like Malfo, when I was hearing you talking, it seems like that's a perfect opportunity to explore, Wada becoming, like you say, Jonty, a validator. And one more question for you, Jonty, like the trust registry, like what's your thought about maybe even starting to like develop that out too with some of the other organizations that we're working with? I mean, because we should play in this game, because everybody's, Yeah,
it's one of those things that you always say that they are kind of, like you kind of see them as big or very complex. But a trust registry, it's a matter of affinity. It's basically a social capital you have. So Wada having it already within the Cardano ecosystem, I don't see why. Actually, it's something which should be already being done. It's one of those things that we don't want to push too hard on it, but there is nothing preventing us from doing, because Atara itself, it's only one aspect of the validation. Now that we know how to issue credential identifier issuers, then establishing the registry, it's a free resource. Yeah, it can even be done the same way membership. It can be done today, but it's not done, right? So I think maybe we are not having enough resources to wrap our heads around everything that needs to be done. But those are the low-hanging fruits.
Yeah, maybe as we move forward into the new year, that's something that we can just set up as an initiative for Wada, because there's no reason that we shouldn't be doing it, and that would help support this program as well, just to have the validators in the registry and being able to issue credentials and things like that.
And as I said before, possibly, again, I was not well understood, but the whole service of KYC is very valuable in the crypto space. It's like we're kind of not really giving it enough time to go towards it, but it's a service. It's a service which has value. Like the whole mobile initiative, IMAX, that is fundamentally on the KYC level. And that only needs to be a first layer of trust.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I totally agree with both of you. At the base level, it's really building up your reputation that you can then use for so many things. And the fact that all of this through DID is now interoperable, we can see that. I think it's definitely something that we want to consider. So I took some notes. So very quickly, Daniel is asking if I could share the Haskell tools. Yes, Daniel, I will definitely email them to you at the end of this meeting, if that works.
And will you send those out to everyone?
Yeah, I can just send it through, the list of the invitees that we have. Okay, great.
And do you have, can you put just kind of a little suggestion in there, maybe where you think we should start?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we have any other question?
I just wanted to suggest, it seems we had a few people who joined late. If anyone wanted to introduce themselves and let us know, if there's anything you're hoping from sort of the idea of us having these meetups. What was the reason you came here today? And even the people who have already been here can feel free to also answer that question, because I'm interested. I have my own ideas of why you're here, but would love to hear from everyone.
Because I saw him at the treatment. Yeah.
I know I was a little late. I was on another call. So this is Mercy, and I am very happy to see this being launched, and I'm looking forward to really very informative sessions going forward. And thanks to everybody for making the time to be here. Yeah, for some reason there was an issue with the Zoom link, so apologies to that, everyone.
Is everyone feeling a bit shy today?
I'll jump in. I know we've had some conversations. I think one of the things that I'm most excited about in doing this training is, the people that are a part of the group, the people that are on the call here. I think there's a little bit of background noise. We've talked about this, especially you and I, Manfo, just this idea of not moving away from, but expanding beyond Western thought. And I think that, this group will be really good for having some conversations around that.
Yeah, Sydney, I think you're right. And I always say that the blockchain for Africa or Katiopa hasn't been built yet. And I really mean it, in a sense that when I try to take my like very thin traditional lenses. They're very thin at this point, but I'm hoping to build them up. What I see through it is a paradigm, just like people are kind of translating what we have had in the old financial institution when it comes down to really central questions such as the money creation process. There's no justice there. The idea that you and I here today, we can play with ADA at, let's say, at $1 something, and the fact that in 2-3 years our kids won't be able to get any ADA, and the fact that in order to get into the financial system of ADA, you have to have something, Cardano, I mean. So those are things that I think there's a lot of room there for the community that will be like starting and launching to really go deeper into those subjects. There are like the concept of scarcity, right? Like the concept of instigating like fear. If I don't get it today, tomorrow I'm gonna have it. No, in fact, nature is abundant, and I think we need to just translate those traditional like methods into the way we approach this problem and the way we think about our solution. So a lot of room there. Super excited on how we approach that.
Yeah, that's really exciting for me too.
Yeah.
Yes, Amelia, go ahead.
Hi, yeah. I'm glad to be part of it, and as we are going to learn and also teach others, I believe that it's going to be a good and an exciting thing to participate in. So I'm in for it, and I believe that it's going to become, we are going to be ambassadors of the Cardano blockchain system. So, I mean, I'm grateful for it. Yeah. That's all I have.
Yeah, I have a question. Are you hoping to be learning Haskell here? This is to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And that way, since you're in the Ghana hub, you can be also teaching people locally who maybe won't want to be joining these online meetups, right?
Yeah.
That's great. We're glad you're here. I don't recognize all of the names here. So I see Christopher. Are you with the Ghana team?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Can I be heard?
Yeah, we're hearing you.
Okay, yeah, I'm part of the Wada team Ghana, and it's amazing to be here and also to think of being part of the Haskell program. It's just an amazing time. I can't wait to get started on the program. So I'm so super excited to be part of this team. Hope to learn and also be and also be able to impart knowledge to anyone who also wants to learn from me. And I'll be grateful to also share my idea and also share the knowledge I gain from what will be starting any moment from now. So I'm great to be part. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christopher. Just a quick question. Can I just ask, what gets you excited about Haskell? How you came up across I mean, how you learn about it and what it like a little bit about your background and how you just let us know about like what you feel about Haskell.
Is this a question for everyone or?
Yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, sure. Go ahead, Sydney.
Oh yeah, I mean, just I think that just the like I don't have the right word, but just that it's a language that you can use and be sure that what you're developing is doing what it's supposed to do. That to me is exciting, especially for building systems that are supposed to last a long period of time. So I think that's definitely one of the most exciting things about, considering Haskell, Plutus, and Elm and other functional languages is just understanding that paradigm so that when you build things, they're built to last, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of what I usually say is like one of the biggest revelation in my life as a software developer, when I got really bored with stuff that I was working on and asking myself, how am I going to ever build such a system like Facebook? And I was dreaming really high. And, within my toolbox, I wasn't really seeing anything that could help me, build such a system in a way that I could sit down and reason about it. Functional language, the discovery of Haskell, I think gave me that tool. And there are sure other things we could talk about, other languages, other new considerations, but Haskell is definitely, in my opinion, something to invest in.
I know you've mentioned that more than once, like this idea of reasoning about your code. I'm not quite sure exactly, like it's hard for me to conceptualize what that means. So I'm excited to kind of understand what that means as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, at the basic level, you have so Haskell is really an implementation of something called lambda calculus, which is a branch of mathematics. So when I talk about reasoning about your code, it's really the fact that Haskell being built on top of that, or being actually an implementation of that, you are actually working pretty much in mathematics. Okay. So you are leveraging, theorems, the type theory and all of that, category theory, which are definitely, subjects that a lot of mathematicians have worked on, and you just have like solid basis. Yeah, okay. As opposed to ad hoc languages where you are kind of playing a lot with memory, and yeah, it's a little bit complicated, but we can get into it. But overall, it's the fact that it's an implementation of the lambda calculus, which is a branch of math, and so it has a really solid basis.
And the resources that you're going to send us, do they give us enough of a primer of lambda calculus, or do you suggest that we continue to explore that, maybe outside of some of these specific functional programming resources that you're going to send?
Yeah, I mean, some of the resources, specifically the book that we use for the first phase, learning Haskell from first principles. The one from Julie, what is her name again? Muruki, something like that.
Yeah.
Touch a little bit on lambda calculus. But yeah, I would definitely suggest that, on your own time, you can look into it. But also, those are subjects that you can spend an entire life like learning. So I would advise you just get the little portion that you need, like enough to understand that all these lines of code that I would be writing in Haskell translate into this lambda calculus. So I think when you get to that point, and that's what you need. You don't
Okay.
need, yeah.
And what about logic? Because smart contracts really are almost like logic machines, aren't they? So that, like, are there any, thoughts about resources there as well, about just kind of really understanding the logic behind smart contracts?
Yeah, so we are really having a hard time like finding resources. You know, we're halfway through the Plutus Pioneer program, the second iteration.
Mm-hmm.
And we are literally using what we have on our hands right now, like the docs on the Cardano website, and the video from Lars is the I don't know what position he has.
Educator,
yeah, educator, like something like that. And those are the tools that we are using. Back then, when they were still like starting to work on Plutus, they had a book. They wrote a book about like Plutus that I found really, really interesting. You can find it on LearnPub, but I think the problem is they haven't updated that book to the latest version of Plutus. So you might want to check it out. Like, I think the title is just like Learning Plutus or something like that. So you can Google it on LearnPub. I can add that to the email that I wish send as well. Those are basically the tools that we are using, and mostly focusing on really digging into like smart contracts, not just at a higher level, but understanding how the blocks are built together. That's what we are focusing on right now. But our main resource is really Lars' video and a couple of docs that we read online on the Cardano side and on the Plutus community. And maybe Gentil here have some suggestions about like other resources to share.
Yeah, so I'll send you the link with the new documentation for Plutus. Also, there is the third iteration of the training, which is happening in January. So the students could already be registering. There are no limits as to who can participate. They can accommodate thousands of people. So whoever asks to participate will be mostly allowed to, admitted into the program. And ourselves who took the first or second iteration, we can participate to kind of see the updates. But I already have some updates because I've been updating some scripts for some projects on the Catalyst, some front-end projects who want to update their scripts on the new version of Plutus. But this also leads me to another question. Like for the training, are we also planning on looking into the Malawi little app? Because I remember that my daughter, I joined Cardano finally because my daughter was learning programming with a little Malawi type of pulling and dropping stuff. And that's when I looked the video, and then Cardano was teaching the same system. I was like, yeah, this is something which I can actually learn. And that's how I found myself into Cardano. So now I have to go back to her and tell her, okay, yeah, you can actually learn as well to program.
Jonty, you may be the only person that's come into Cardano that way.
Sorry. No, I was going to say that thanks, Jonty, for bringing that up, because they did announce yesterday about the third cohort coming up, and I have put the link in the chat. I was going to ask how we're going to factor that into this training, but Jonty already brought that up, so that's amazing.
Great, thank you, Jonty. Do they have a set date already?
They said the middle of January.
Okay. Yeah, it would be great to catch up with them as we are going through the second iteration. So yeah. So to answer your question about Malawi, I never get that right. I sometimes pronounce it Malawi, I don't know, but yeah. So again, we would really love to introduce it at some point. But what happens with Malawi is it's kind of Plutus at a higher level, right? So Plutus is a domain-specific language, so it talks the language of smart contract and finances and stuff like that. You know, UTXO account model, and Malawi is kind of a way, another like higher level language than Plutus, where you can just like drag and drop like blocks. So that is meant for people who are like in the financial world, or people who want to build like smart contract without like worrying too much about like Plutus and Haskell, as we do in building like from the ground up. And we want to make sure that we have the foundation first, which is like Haskell, Plutus, and then yes, we'll definitely end up doing Malawi, I'm sure. I just don't know exactly when, but again, those are things that we'll be discussing, you know, through these meetups.
So I think that the Cardano team, they call it Malo. So the Y, the E at the end is silent, I think. So just chipping that in there. Yeah.
I've heard so many pronunciations, Mercy. I'm so confused, but thank you for that. Yeah.
Can we develop on Marlow now, like on the main chain?
As on the testnet, I do believe there is a playground already they've been using, but I haven't seen anybody try it. Because again, as Mafo says, it's basically quite a higher level. So basically, I know it also kind of shows you your script at the end, which actually I think at this level, I think it's good, because then you can actually go back and see the version of Plutus which is implemented. Yes, possibly for somebody who like us, that could be a good thing. I'm gonna look into it. Possibly it could be live. Yeah.
Okay. And Jonty, you said there's a new version of the docs for
yes,
Plutus?
Plutus is being updated, and there is a new version with something about the timing and the public key signing and the UTXO collection.
Well, this is what, you know, naturally happens with new languages. And it's even more true for domain-specific languages. So I expect a lot of updates. You are muted, Jonty, if you're talking. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? It looks like we have no other questions.
It was just my brother calling me for some planning for the new year.
Exciting.
So speaking of which, bringing government into this, as well as like interfacing with the entrepreneurial community, like how, because I know some people who are developers, I know some people who are entrepreneurs, I know some people, you know, are like building things. Like, what do I do? Do I tell them to join the meetups? You know, how do I get them involved? Some of them are, you know, have been developers for some period of time, and they've advanced pretty far in their careers. But I'm just wondering, how do I get other, like, you know, who should I invite to this? Because I'm guessing that this is going to be for some people, and then there may be some other forums for other people.
Yeah, if I can try to answer that. So again, we, you know, we really want to create a space for, you know, devs, developers, and entrepreneurs as a starting point. You know, anybody who has an idea and he's looking for a community to talk about his idea and how to implement it, what it means on the technical aspect. or in the implementation or design aspect, DLT opportunities in general. I think those are the kind of questions or concerns we can answer for entrepreneurs. And when it comes down to developers, it's really about like mentoring, making suggestions on the path that they could be taking to get ready for like the curriculum that we'll be launching later and stuff like that. Those are the two profiles that I can think of right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I just wanted to add that the way I kind of classify this meetup is sort of like a functional programming support group, in the sense of, maybe you're already a programmer and you're working on your coding, you just want to come with like a question about it. So if you're saying that you have people that who already are, programmers, they might like coming here to sort of see other people struggling with the same types of things as them, or even for them to come and end up offering advice to other people. But also as a way for people that have ideas to come and say, okay, I'm thinking about this idea. Would that work kind of to code on Cardano? So it's sort of for all of those people coming together.
Okay.
Was that a good, did we answer your question very well?
Yeah, it does. This is really helpful. I think, Megan, you hit record on this. I want to share this with some other people and then just kind of let them, make a, decision on whether or not it's appropriate for them to, however they want to engage. But I want to send this out to some of the friends that I have that are developers, but not necessarily in the blockchain.
Well, and I think, an important piece is that it will sort of turn into whatever it needs to be based on who is here. We have our idea of what we expect, it to be, but if those people aren't coming, it might turn into something else. So it's really about kind of gathering the community within Wada around projects and around our education, and also supporting people like you that it sounds like are wanting to start learning this. And we don't have our own program to be teaching it specifically yet, but we do have people who could be supporting in the meantime while we think of the best way to teach. And that's sort of that feedback loop of, as you're learning it, what's working for you and how do we implement that into what we then launch at the end of next year.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I mean, I think we don't need to spend too much time today. This was really an introduction. We'll send out like a little summary as well as some suggested materials. But I think we'll also start thinking about how to sort of support. It sounds like a couple of people here are wanting to really learn right away. So I think we'll think about that. I'll pass it to you, Mom.
Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
I think there's a question in the chat from Herman.
Yeah, Mercy, I wanted to address that. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
So Herman missed the first part, and he want to know about the goal and the goal of this meeting, I guess. And he's also a Java developer and recently started learning the structure of Ethereum blocks and Solidity. So regarding the first part you missed, I think we are thinking about like catching up sometime in the middle of the month, specifically for this introduction, since we have like a lot of people that couldn't make it. So I think Amen, you will have a chance to really, understand what this is about. Regarding your question about like the Java developer, so here you are welcome, as a Java developer. I think you have like probably have a lot of background in software programming, and that on its own is enough to be part of this group. I hope I'm seeing okay things there, so I hope I answered the question. So very quickly, I want to remind everybody here that we'll be hosting our first hackathon session, starting on January 27th and running through January 29th. And it will be about, for the first 2 days, the first day, providing mini courses in Haskell, really basic level for, everybody who wants to participate. And on the next day, the second day will be about, doing some practice, solving some exercises. And the last day will be like the big challenge where we come together, we run through these fun exercises individually, in groups, and at the end we will have offer prizes in ADA. So we are still working on that. We're pretty done with the courses, the content of the courses. We are working on the exercises. And also we are thinking on how to structure how the prizes will be, distributed in a very innovative way and fair way. So you are all invited. I just want to make sure that I start putting the word out there. Invite your friends and, any devs, any entrepreneurs who are willing to join to have fun. Do it, please.
So yeah, I just want to make sure before we end, if anyone else was wanting to say anything, ask any questions, or contribute anything, you had a chance. Afia.
Okay, Megan, does it mean that you don't have to send a mail to the team Wada Alliance provided on the poster again?
Yeah, so basically this specific meeting, we didn't want it to be too broad, which is why we didn't just tweet the link to the Zoom. We weren't hoping for too big of a group. This is more of an internal WADA thing for now as a beginning point. So really that was more about controlling who could come to this meeting. In general, though going forward it will be open to kind of people who want to be involved. Are you asking in terms of people you want to invite for future meetings?
You see on the poster that was put in the group, there was this, if you are interested, send a mail to team at Wadlands to be part of it. So I'm asking that if people want to be part of it, they still have to send an email to that address.
Yeah, I was thinking that WADA people had access to the WADA calendar, which is where we posted the link. I think I'll need to follow up with that just because it seems like some people did not have the link. So I apologize for that. But the only reason that we had put that in there was just not to put our Zoom link out to just anybody. So the reason for having that comment was if you don't have access to the link, there's a way to get it.
Okay.
So then I guess something that people we would be interested in feedback for people hoping to join this meeting is if this general time works for people, or if people had suggestions of better times. We did have a couple of people, not only because of the holiday, but just because of their work schedule, that couldn't come today. And so we are planning to do kind of a catch-up intro meeting next month, sometime mid-month, at a very different time, just to see who we can catch. but I think that might be something we send out as like a survey also after. But another thing to maybe emphasize for these meetups, it is really more kind of for people as they need it. It's not necessarily something you would need to come to every month, but for some people that might be relevant. It is not necessarily going to be a program that's being followed. That is to come from Wada. So just for people who were a bit late, it's not a specific program that we're offering yet, but it is more of a mentoring and a support group for people who are involved, in projects or looking for support in programming or in implementation. So I think is there any other questions, or we could call it a night? All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much. We're really glad to be starting this, and we'll see you all next time. I will send out the email follow-up, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, bye, bye.
Thank you. Bye.